beautiful flower, beautiful city, and beautiful bridge. You might wonder what it has to do with drawing. You're right, I'm just messing with you. Just showing you my photography from Singapore. Anyway, this is the first portrait drawing I did this year, which I recorded from start to finish. Since last week, I've been asking my followers what they wanted me to talk about. Most of you wanted me to talk about background, freehand drawing, hair, smoothness, and my gear. I think these are great topics. In this drawing, as you can see in this time-lapse video, I'm drawing freehand. I don't sketch beforehand, I don't trace, I don't use a ruler, grid, or any phone app or anything. It's just me, my hand, and the drawing. Drawing freehand is definitely not for everyone. Just because I draw freehand, it doesn't mean you need to draw freehand like me. Is it difficult? Yeah, it's difficult, even for me. When I first started, like 10 years ago, my drawing wasn't as good as now. Obviously, we all start somewhere. But can you learn it? The answer is totally. It's possible, but everything depends on whether you have the patience to do it. Do you give up easily? And more importantly, how observant you are. Being observant is, I think, the most important trait here. Because freehand drawing doesn't mean you're not measuring. I might not do it that obvious here, but in my head, I'm constantly measuring the drawing. The way I measure is by checking the alignment of something in relation to something else. I won't go too deep here, because I already covered this topic. You can check my Tom Holland pencil drawing where I explain this in more detail. But a good exercise is to draw horizontal and vertical lines in the reference photo. This will act like the grid system, it's just I don't draw the grid on my drawing paper, but instead on the reference photo. The drawing might not be exactly the same as the photograph, but I can say using this method, for me it's pretty darn close. So I will talk again about freehand drawing, but since I'm currently drawing the hair, I will talk about it first because someone also asked about how I draw the hair. So there are several things to consider when drawing the hair. The first one is to indent the paper to create those tiny flyaway hair strands with an empty pen. This will create some creases on the paper, and when you shade with a dark pencil like 8B, those creases will remain to be light. This technique works pretty well with dark background portraits. The second thing that helps me is using a very sharp pencil. If you're using blunt pencils, then those dark hair strands won't look good no matter what you do. So make sure that you're using sharp pencils when drawing the hair. I always sharpen a lot of pencils before I'm drawing so that I don't have to resharpen the same pencil over and over. The third thing for drawing realistic hair is to make sure that your gradation from dark to light is as smooth as possible. As you can see here, the bottom part here is quite dark, and this area here is quite bright. And I'll make sure that the transition from this area to this area is as smooth as possible. And the last tip I want to give you here is don't forget to add shadows. Shadow plays a big role when it comes to realism. So if you forget to add shadow below the hair, then the hair will look floaty and unrealistic. Right, so going back to freehand drawing tips. The next thing you want to consider when drawing freehand is the size of your drawing paper. In this drawing here, I'm using A3 drawing paper. When drawing a close-up portrait or head and shoulder portrait like this paper size is quite comfortable for me. It's not too small or too big for me. Now, what does it have to do with drawing freehand? Well, the smaller your drawing paper is, naturally, the smaller your drawing is. So the more accurate you will need to be. Because if your measurement is off, even just a couple of millimeters, it can throw off your drawing and can distort the face quite a lot, making it look weird and wrong. On the other hand, that 2 millimeters is nothing in a bigger scale drawing, so you don't have to be as accurate. So what paper size is the best for you? Well, that's for you to figure out. I suggest trying drawing small, drawing big, and see what works for you. But once again, I'm sorry I have to say, freehand drawing is not for everybody. It's not some kind of higher level art or anything. There is nothing wrong with gridding or tracing because at the end of the day, what matters is the end result. When you post your finished drawing online, people won't know whether you're tracing or gridding. Even me, I sometimes just trace my drawing to save time, especially when I do oil painting. Like, why would I do this extra work if I just cover it with paint, right? Now about the tools. I will always list all of my tools in the beginning of my videos, and you might see that I have so many tools in my arsenal, but the truth is that I don't always use them every time I'm drawing. I always believe that you don't need a lot of tools to get a good drawing, especially beginners. If you use too many tools, sometimes it can get confusing real fast. In this drawing, I only use 2 pencils, 8B for those dark areas, and 4B mechanical pencil for the lighter part. I also have these 2 brushes, a small brush to push the graphite into the paper grain, making the dark areas darker, and this super big brush to create a very light value. And the eraser, I used 2 different erasers, this Tamamon Zero eraser to help me create the hair, and this kneaded eraser to help me soften the skin texture. And one more tool, this is an empty pen. This is to indent the paper to create a realistic looking hair. So basically that's it. All I need is these 7 tools, and anything else is just additional help and not mandatory. In the beginning of my drawing process, I also used this tool. This looks like a palette knife for painting, but it is made of plastic and we can attach a sponge that comes with it when we buy it. You might know this tool as soft tools for pen pastel, but mine is the cheaper one from Mary's. This tool is super useful to create a soft shading early on, but honestly if I don't have this, I can still draw just fine. And so many people ask me this, but I think the brand doesn't really matter. I'm using cheap brands. My brushes are cheap watercolor brushes. But there's one tool that it has to be that in order to work, and that is my 8B pencil from Staedtler. It has to be from Staedtler because I find that other brands, even though it's the same 8B, they have different darkness and different shine. This Staedtler pencil is the darkest and the least shining for me. Also, if you want to be darker than this, you could also use charcoal pencil. They're supposed to be darker. Honestly, I haven't tried it yet, so if you guys want me to try and see the comparison, just let me know in the comment section and I'll buy and try it. So I think that's all really about my tools. And now let me talk about how I do my background. Now for the bottom part here, I want to mix realism with my abstract background. And the way I achieve it is just lightly shade with my pencil and soften it with my brush. And then I like to fix and clean the shape, creating some odd shapes here and there using my Tombow Mono Zero eraser. The shape I want here is just a thick horizontal line because I think it looks great because our model here is turning her head to the right, and I think this shape fits perfectly. Also, creating different values help to make it look less boring. And then after I get the shape I want, I just draw her clothing like this, so the shape looks like it's transparent and blends with the photo. I love playing around with this kind of effect in the background. And again, more with horizontal shapes over here, but this time I make it darker. So how do I end up with this idea and not fail? So basically, you need some kind of plan. The way I do it is to create a thumbnail sketch. So once you finish drawing the main subject, you take a photograph and print it. Now you can play around with it and not worry about making any mistakes. And if you make too many mistakes or want to create a different version of it, you can just print it again. Or if you have Photoshop, then you can make your thumbnail sketch digitally. And all you need to do is just create a bunch of save files. So your option here is endless really. Okay, so creating background for me is like a signature. Everybody has their own unique signature, and no one's signature looks the same as the others. Even though I could copy somebody else's, it still won't look the same. So I'd say just practice and practice. If background design is your weakness, then I'd say don't avoid it, but to embrace it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, then all you need to do is just think. What are the things that you don't like and how you can improve it? And that's how you learn to develop your own style. Now I will talk about this background thing in another video in more detail, like the elements of my background, how I do stuff, different shapes, different values. I think it deserves a separate video because I could talk about it for hours. But right now, let me finish drawing this background and I'll talk again about how I smooth out the skin tone, because that's what I do in the final stage. Right, so at this time, the subject and the background is done. But the drawing isn't finished yet. The very last step I need to do is to smooth out the skin. Honestly, I have told you this trick before, but I will repeat again. So basically, all you have to do is to look at your drawing from the side. With this trick, now you can see those imperfections more clearly. Now simply add some graphite to those white areas and remove the graphite to those darker areas to make it even. Now, one misconception about drawing is that you need blending tools to make your drawing appear smoother. The blending tool is not a magic tool. All you have to do here to make the drawing smoother is, I'm afraid, to manually darken and lighten the value using pencil and eraser. Also, keep rotating the paper and check from every angle. You don't want to miss a spot here. And since this takes a very long time, I won't be able to record the whole process. That won't be realistic. Sometimes I like to work off camera as well. And interestingly, my camera can't always pick up those imperfections. Also, like I said before, from now on, I want to focus on creating quality content. And that means asking questions, more research about what you guys want to see. But that means it will take me a bit longer to produce one video. So please be patient with me and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, follow me on Instagram as well. And here is our end result, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked today's tutorial and see you guys in the next video. Ta-da!